Now, the South African National Energy Association says the sector has been derailed by mismanagement, corruption and crumbling infrastructure. This has led to power cuts and challenges of liquid fuel supplies as one of the major problems. Joining us is Kiren Maharaj, who's the chairperson of the South African National Energy Association. Very good evening to you, Kiren, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. I just want to start there as well. When we're talking about poor infrastructure, you just heard in our report there just before this interview, the Minister of Electricity, Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, speaking about wear and tear and old infrastructure. Where do we sit right now when it comes to energy in South Africa?
Good evening, Wasa, and good evening to your viewers. Thank you very much for this opportunity to reflect on where we are in the energy sector and what we're doing as SANIA to contribute to moving the sector forward. So I think we've seen, for example, the effects of load shedding. We've seen the effects of a stagnant and not progressing liquid fuel sector. We've seen the effect of related value chains on the energy sector, for example, logistics, and how these have all culminated in poor quality of supply, poor state of infrastructure, as well as the dreaded load shedding that fortunately enough it's over 200 days that we haven't had any of. So we've seen a lot of the decisions that should have been taken a long time ago not being taken timelessly, not enough expenditure being focused on addressing some of the challenges that we have, as well as perhaps not enough collaboration across the sector and between the public and private elements of the sector in addressing some of these issues. I think it has all resulted in us reaching a point where the sector at this point in time being so critical to the economy requires significant change, requires significant actions to be addressed, requires a lot more partnering and collaboration to move the sector forward, and more than anything else to build on opportunities that are arising from the challenges that we have.
And as you're mentioning as well, we've had over 200 days of no load shedding, and a lot of people have been celebrating about that. If you had to reconsider your time last year, this time we were looking at the different stages of load shedding. Now we go a whole day without having any load shedding. However, we're not out of the woodworks. And that is also something that the minister has flagged as well, that there is still a problem when it comes to the energy sector. How would you say ineffective leadership has hampered the growth of the energy sector?
So I think, this, in terms of the ineffective leadership, we must talk broadly in the sector. The sector in the last 10 years has seen many new players come in. And new players bring new challenges, new movements, new opportunities, new things to consider. We've also seen a lot more issues come on the table. So, for example, the heightened focus on the climate change issues, the ESG issues, the big challenges we're facing with decommissioning coal in order to meet climate change requirements, and the challenges that brings about in terms of support for communities, creating unemployment, which we know we need to address and not add to the current unemployment problem. We've also got an emerging youth sector that we have to find some ways to harness the opportunities in the energy sector for them. So I think there's so many things on the table, and sometimes when there's so many complexities, we tend to get inundated, we lose focus, and I think we focus on the things that are easiest to do. So we have seen many challenges emerge across the different programs that have been running and the different ways to address the sector. There's a lot of commitment, I believe, to address some of the issues, but perhaps we're not getting enough momentum, we're not getting enough clarity in terms of direction, and then we're not actually being comprehensive in addressing the issues. We also have seen a lot of emerging challenges in the municipal sector. I believe your previous crossing over to the incident that happened in Tshwane is evidence of it, and it's not the first one. So we've seen a lot of challenges in the municipal infrastructure as well, which affects consumers that are not supplied directly by Eskom. So a lot of times when we see the electricity supply challenges, we think it's Eskom, but actually there's a broader value chain that sits behind it that also has to be effective in being led, effective in addressing the issues and challenges that they face, and making sure that there's not just a short-term view on what is happening immediately in front of them, but there's a focus on the medium and long term in terms of planning energy security, quality, making sure that there's access. And, you know, in a country like South Africa, and particularly on the African continent, we have several other issues around poverty alleviation, access to power, you know, cost, etc., that need to be addressed in addition to simply just deploying and upgrading infrastructure.
And part of that goes to your other point of the new players that have also entered the sector as well. That also helps with unemployment, with also the growth of the economy. But just from your experience as well, these new players who enter a market that was predominantly a monopoly for Eskom, how are they received by the market?
Well, I think during the time of the load shedding, we have seen the benefit that the program has added. We've even been critical to the point in the sector to say we should have perhaps started earlier. We should have also deployed quicker. We should have addressed challenges faster, because the new players are definitely playing a role. I also think that when you listen to the reports that come out of the IPP office, the statistics as to how these sectors are supporting the local communities, assisting in job creation, are quite phenomenal. So it's not without its problems. Nothing really is. But I think that the ability to have more players diversifies the focus and increases the footprint of how the energy impact can be made in the country. We can't expect Eskom to do everything. So the more players that are there, and it's particularly encouraging that we'll see the same type of environment unfold with the big transmission network expansion that needs to happen in the next couple of years. So there'll be more players coming in, lots of new ideas, new thinking, and I think competition pushes the boundaries for everybody to be more effective and efficient.
And speaking about those new players and competition as well, before I let you go, just briefly, if you could tell us about the upcoming conference that you'll be hosting as the South African National Energy Association.
Yes, thank you for that, Masa. So it may not be well known, but SANIA turns 100 this year. So as part of our centenary commemoration, we are launching our inaugural leadership conference. It's the first in a series of platforms that we want to unfold to encourage the leadership conversation. So we have a lot of technical conversations, and I think there's no shortage of discourse and dialogue in the energy sector. But what we felt is the unifying element of leadership to build on vision, to build on collective goals, to build on inspiring the youth, to build on creating plausible solutions to the problems that we have is an area where we're not dialoguing enough. So we're very happy to host this leadership conference on the 6th and 7th of November. The theme of the conference is transformational leadership as a mechanism to create a more sustainable energy future. We've chosen transformational leadership specifically because it is so broadly encompassing in terms of the key tenets that are required to move the sector forward. The conversations are going to be about the challenges that we face as a leadership, but also very strongly focused on the solutions and ideas, and innovation that we can put in place to become more collaborative, more implementation focused, as well as, start to define an energy future that serves the best interests of South Africa and its people, and in particular focus is the youth. So we're very passionate about creating opportunities for the youth and bringing the youth into the energy stream from a point of creating sustainability for the energy sector, as well as employment and other opportunities for the youth.
And we know with our youth unemployment stats, we certainly do need such initiatives as well. Kiren Maharaj, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights.